Good day, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lance Clark, and today I'm going to be sharing with you 7 techniques that I use for lighting to get that like cinematic kind of quality look in pretty much any type of situation that you may have. Now, these techniques and things that I'm going to be going over range from like a 0 budget situation to like a higher budget situation. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video to catch all the things. I'm also going to be adding in a bunch of different tips and techniques and things all throughout everything. Enough talking, let's get into it. Thing number 1, now everyone knows that when you are shooting in sunlight, in direct sunlight, the biggest, the freest source of light that we have available to us, to always go towards the shadows or get out of direct sunlight. But that is not always the thing that you can just do. Like sometimes in a wedding or something like that, you're gonna have no choice but to shoot in direct sunlight. So what do? Well, what they do in Hollywood is they will actually position the sun so that it is behind the actor person and it is out of frame, thus illuminating the back of them, giving them like a backlight, casting a shadow on their front. So you are creating that shadow to the front of your actors. Now, this technique has been used tons of different times throughout Hollywood movies and stuff like that, and one thing that they always kind of like keep consistent throughout all the movies is that they don't care about the consistency of where the light is actually coming from. They will just flip-flop it back and forth just to achieve that nice look. Now, if you don't have any other choice but to shoot in direct sunlight, let's say someone sets up their wedding ceremony thing, the sun is like right here and you don't have any choice, shoot it the best you can, get it over and done with. It's not going to be your favorite like shots from the day. Move on, best you can, get other good, amazing shots later. Thing number 2 is if you are shooting in like ambient lights, let's say like you just have like a venue of some sort, they have like light coming in, they have some window lighting. Obviously like you want to try and go towards the window light as much as you can, but that's not always the case if you are shooting an event. What I suggest doing is picking up one of these. These are just small LED panels that come in all different shapes and sizes at all different kinds of price points. These are absolutely fantastic to have when you are shooting kind of like that more run and gun docu kind of style, because what this will do is if you just mount it on top of your camera, it will just kind of illuminate whatever it's pointing at, obviously because it's a light, my lord. The idea of it is that the subject that you're illuminating will be slightly brighter than the rest of the ambient light around them, thus popping them out of the scene a little bit, and then your eye will focus on that person just that slight bit more. Keeping in mind that you don't want to like overly crank this light like super crazy high, so it's like a spotlight on them and that they like wince if they like look at it or anything like that. Next thing is shoot towards the darkness. Yes, you want to shoot into the darker side of someone's face. This is something that they do in movies a lot. Now what this does is it adds a lot of depth and a lot of contrast to these scenes. Now, you don't have to do this all the time, and it is a very like pick and choose and selective kind of situation. But for me personally, it's very pleasing to look at. And like I've mentioned before, your eye is kind of drawn more towards the brighter part of an image, so that will just add in that like depth kind of feeling. It also is just like super contrasty, which I just personally really enjoy. Practical lighting / layering lighting. Now, practical lighting obviously just means these things like in the background that I have over here, and layering lighting kind of refers to the stacking of shadows, highlight, shadow, and highlight. Now that layering of lighting is just very appeasing? Sure, it's just a nice look. I just kind of like doing it, having this like shadow here, highlight here, shadow here, highlight here, shadow here, and pretend that there's a highlight over there. It's just nice to look at. It's just a very like overall kind of contrasty aesthetic that I personally enjoy. Having this light back here adds a lot of warmth, I find, to just this overall look. If I didn't have this light on, it would just be complete darkness back there, and then it would just be like this side of my face lit up a little bit, and it would kind of look a little bit weird. Now, the biggest thing about practical lighting is that it kind of triggers a switch in the viewer's mind saying, oh, there's a light in the scene, so that's why it's bright. If you just have like a studio light for like a narrative or something like that, just like bam, kind of like this, it's just like, well, where's this light, like this super like very directional, very different kind of light coming from? Adding a practical light in the background, whether it's just like a lamp or something like that, really just adds to that like oh, there's a light on in the room, and that's why my subject is, or that's why like the thing that I'm looking at is brighter illuminated. Pro tip, the other thing to keep in mind with that idea of like having a light that kind of matches the scene or scenario that you're in is to try to position that light up and kind of above your subject as much as possible. This is to imitate like ceiling lights or the sunlight. It's just a very like natural way that people perceive where light is coming from. Next thing is making your subjects pop out of the scene a little bit. So I've purposely kept this kind of frame like this, but as you can see, I currently don't have any type of hair light or anything behind me. And now that kind of makes like my hat, because it's so dark, kind of blend in with the bookshelf back here. And so you kind of lose, I would say, this side of my head quite a bit in terms of like the background. I kind of blend in to the background is what I'm trying to say. See, just adding this hair light here, it helps me stand out from the background so much better just by illuminating my head, my shoulders a little bit. It also illuminates the chair, so now my chair is standing out, not blending in. So I'm now popping out quite a bit more. I'm not just blending into the darkness, which is something that you want. You don't want to like lose sight of your subjects. You want them to stand out from the rest of the scene. All I simply did was added a light just up here nice and high to have it fall down on top of my head, shoulders, things like that. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes, you know how it is. And that's it. Nice, easy fix to make your subject really stand out. The next thing that I'm gonna be talking about is a less contrasty version type of lighting, things that you can do, which a lot of people who are more self-conscious about their skin or imperfections on their skin prefer. This is also called beauty lighting, and beauty lighting is simply a very like flat or very bright. So essentially this can be considered beauty lighting. This just really flattens out my features so that there's no like crazy shadows or anything going on. It's not a very high contrasty kind of look, but a lot of people really prefer this look if they have any skin imperfections or anything like that, because it will really flatten it out. Now this is a 2-light setup where I have one light over here and one light right here, really like eliminating all those shadows. Something else that you can do is you can add a reflector or something down below here to cast a light underneath of people's chins and underneath their noses and stuff like that to really just flatten out, not have that like double chin look at all. It really just will flatten everything out, and it's very, very appealing to, like I said, those people who have more of like a self-conscious kind of thing going on. Now, you do not need 2 lights for this kind of situation. You can definitely use 1 light, and all you have to do really is just position that light more in front of the person to just like cast a more like uniformed kind of section of light on your subject. Yeah, that makes sense. As opposed to like getting that directional lighting, having that fall off coming off the side. If you don't have a very big budget for getting lights, that is okay. A light like this, I think, was like under $100 or right around $100, and these are fantastic. You can get a lot of cool and different looks with these small lights. Now, the biggest thing to kind of take away and to remember about that is because it is a small light, it won't look the best. You want to try to make this light look as big as possible. And now to achieve that like big light kind of look is to take one of these and then get one of those 5-in-1 reflectors, which you can get on Amazon for less than $100, and then just shoot this towards that diffusion to create that nice big kind of light source, and that way you get a studio quality light for like less than $200. Keeping that in mind that there are tons and tons of options out there for lighting. You don't have to break the bank for lighting. You just have to sometimes be a little bit more creative in what you do. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much it for me today. If you have any questions about lighting, please leave a comment down below. I hope that you got something out of this. Throughout these 7-ish techniques and things like that, I can pretty much achieve any look that clients may be asking of me, but that does not mean that this is the end-all, be-all techniques for lighting. There are a ton of things that you can do in terms of light to just get a lot of things, and my best suggestion is experiment. You can experiment with small lights, big lights, whatever you want. And the next suggestion is to just watch behind the scenes things all the times, from like director of photography's, like any behind the scenes things that they give, they'll always talk about lighting and just learn and absorb and then be creative throughout that and try to achieve similar kind of looks and aesthetics. Good luck. Like I said, if you have comments, you're wrong. Like I said, if you have questions, leave a comment. Subscribe, like, do the thing people tell you to do. If you don't like this video, dislike, see what I care. Do whatever you want. Hope that you're having a fantastic 2021. Keep up the positive things. Yeah. Anyways, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace!